All right, we're going to do a clap. Only one person can do it.
I thought this was a group activity. I was so excited.
I don't know what we means.
Mark.
You know, we could buy a clapper.
We don't need it. We have one. It's unnecessary.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to HyperCast, the very first episode of the official podcast from Hyper Rabbit Power Go. We're very excited to be here, brand new year, doing something very, very new. This is the first time we've had all four of us at the table together to just talk.
Burrito!
Ooh.
And Zach ordered us burritos, which I will not eat on stream because I don't think you want to watch me and listen to me scarf down food. You were smart about it, Lucas. You already ate it.
That burrito is gone. What are you talking about, Adam? There's a whole market of people that would watch you eat burritos.
Probably.
You know how much you talking about burritos?
But maybe not this close to the microphone.
I think when I eat food, my mouth turns on and my brain turns off.
Same. I'm like, oh, this flavor. Oh, I'm on a show right now. Probably should pay attention. I agree. So for those of you who don't know,
good burrito.
Oh, how's that secret aioli?
The aioli that came in a home Tupperware tin. I don't know where these burritos came from. It was a new pop-up on Grubhub, and I was like, okay, I'll go for it.
This just came from someone's house, probably.
Honestly, the way the these feel like tortillas you buy at the grocery store. They're not homemade, but honestly, it's a good burrito. And this aioli is choice.
Well, anything that throws in free Tupperware within your order is like worth it to
Lucas
me.
is like, I'm going to use this for my dog as a water bowl.
Yeah, he'd love that. That's 2 drinks for him.
So because this is the first episode, I wrote something that sort of gives you an idea of kind of what the show is. I'm sure after doing this for about 3 weeks, I'll actually have it memorized. But basically, the idea of this show, this is a brand new weekly show where you, the audience, get to hang out with us, talk about stuff we're passionate about, what we're working on behind the scenes, and answer some of your most burning questions. If you're a member of our Patreon, you may have had a chance to submit questions for this episode, and you'll be able to do so for every episode in the future. If you want to find out how, go to patreon.com/hyperrpg or click the link in the description. Anyone who's in the Hyper Homie tier or above can ask some questions. And we did have some people submit questions, so I'm excited to go through them.
There were a lot.
They were a lot.
Nice.
And I want to point this out. We don't necessarily want the questions to be related strictly to movies, TV, Marvel, DC, Star Wars. This podcast is not really about entertainment. This podcast is about how we are incorporating tech and pushing the boundaries of interactive storytelling on Twitch, on YouTube, and on all platforms in the future, and how we're going to incorporate all this different tech to basically help us do that. So it's not really about whether or not we thought Watchmen was good. It was.
It was great.
But we wanted to do something that's a little bit more, that plays into the strengths of what each of us do here, because a lot of people necessarily don't know that there's 4 people behind the scenes running stuff every week.
Yeah.
I don't think they know what we do.
Exactly.
They probably just think I'm that annoying person that talks about comic books with you.
And just shows up in the background of Hyper Heroes episodes every once in a while.
And they're like, oh, God, get him, go away.
I definitely come off as a freeloader in the background. I just walk upstairs and Hector whistles at me. I'm just eye
Like,
candy.
who's that handsome boy over there? And then you just have the dogs on the couch, and they're just like...
You just referred to yourself as eye candy, and this is the most Lucas way to start this podcast.
It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing. At any point during the show, consider subscribing. Hit the like button right underneath the subscribe button. It helps out the channel. It helps us out. And let's get this video podcast out there, because I'm really excited to just spend an hour or so talking to you guys and hanging out, because the most time we ever get to talk to each other is in the office when we're all just like working and doing different things, or during our stand-up meetings, which is usually just like a daily check-in.
Rapid fire, get through what we're working on.
Very rapid fire. But Malika, let's start with you.
Oh, hi.
What's your role here at Hyper?
I am the CEO at HyperRPG, but as a CEO of a very small company that I run out of the garage of my house with my husband and my brother-in-law and my roommates, that encompasses a lot of things. I'm mostly in charge of the social media on the HyperRPG social media accounts on Twitter and Facebook, on Instagram. I also do a lot of sales stuff, getting other clients for us, sponsorships for the channel, and then I'm also a face that talks sometimes.
Just a
I
floating
say
head.
words. The rest of the body isn't important.
Of course. I did notice that about you.
Hey, everybody. I'm Zach. I am technically the CCO, but I feel like labels are pretty loose here. I'm the owner of HyperRPG, and started it with Malika years ago, and work on everything. I mean, I do a lot of editing for the company, a lot of show development, a lot of tech I definitely feel like I'm the company tech guy. When something breaks, I get called to come try to figure it out. And that's primarily, I mean, I feel like all of us here, it's like the list of what we do could go on and on. I think we all have specialties, but we all participate in helping in every department.
It's like a 12-man crew run by 4 people.
Yep.
And that's probably being generous.
Yeah. The only thing is when it comes to making sure that paperwork is signed and people get paid, that's Malika. We don't
Oh, hi.
we
Not my
don't
job.
mess with that. We're not going to touch that.
Budgets, bookkeeping, producing, contracts, legal, boring stuff.
We'll help on everything but that.
Yeah. Most people on YouTube know me. I'm Adam. I primarily run everything related to Hyper Heroes, whether it's the show and the social media. I also help with a lot of the tech stuff, running shows here on the weekdays or weeknights live on Twitch, and also helping to develop any sort of idea for a show or anything that will help us as a company grow and just continue to push that boundary of storytelling and interactive storytelling. And yeah, I mean, for about, what was it, like 2.5 years, I was kind of just like living with you guys. And
You still are.
I mean, I still am. And we would just kind of come in and do Hyper Heroes, and it didn't really become like an official thing until September, where it was like, hey, do you actually like we can afford to have you on. Do you want to come on board? And I was like, yeah, maybe that'd be a good idea.
We've had different compensation schemes for you for a long time.
I know. Yeah, it's been very interesting for the last 3 years. But it's cool to be a part of the team officially, especially now living here. I remember you guys mentioned in the last house when we lived there, I would always kind of like go into my room and I would just quietly go to work, and no one knew what I was doing. And they're like, does he even do anything when he's in there?
But we put all our bodies in the same office now, which I think has been extremely helpful.
Yeah.
We just need to get Lucas in there.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a drifter. I'm either downstairs, upstairs. Hey, man, turn that off. Yes, I'm Lucas. I'm an executive producer here. I just kind of like concept shows. I come up with pitches for new ideas. I also run a lot of tech and stuff, and we all kind of like switch off. The 3 of us here, we switch off between like who's running the board and stuff. If there's a thing that needs to be plugged in, I know usually what end goes to what end, and I just kind of help out where I'm needed. Yeah, Adam's getting there. We're teaching Adam.
I didn't know anything about any of the tech here before I started, other than like turn the camera on, hit record.
You're learning very quickly.
Thank God.
You're a smart tech man.
You're learning quick enough to be upset when someone plugs something in the wrong way.
A lot of us, I think, important to note, a lot of us come from a lot of different backgrounds that make this company work for us to be able to wear so many hats. Zach
Do you want
and
to
I,
go like around the other way now?
Sure. I come from more of like I majored in film production. I've been freelance editing and shooting stuff since college for about the last 10 years. So I have like a lot of sort of just experience of being a one-man crew, just making stuff from start to finish as far as video content. And then about 5 years ago, Zach and I started working on the Twitch end of things, live broadcast. So I'm getting more and more into that. And also writing. I like writing, and I've always been sort of a writer person.
I came from visual effects, which a lot of people know, but I worked in 3D conversion for a few years and mixed that between conventional, regular, traditional visual effects. And then this crazy idea spawned in my brain of like, hey, maybe we should talk about movies and TVs and superheroes on YouTube. And so Augustine and I, we brought in Hector and we started doing that. And then as everyone probably knows, we were at Superhero News for a while. Things didn't really work out. The weird thing that happened is like simultaneously we had started working with Zach, and it was like, well, why don't you just come here and do stuff with us? And
I had been doing some sketches with Hector.
Yeah.
I had, Lucas and I used to have a production company called Aren't We Clever? AWC, and
We thought we were.
and we did a couple comedy sketches with Hector, and had
the
been
burrito
hanging
one
out with
is
him through
so
UCB,
good.
and that was like, oh man, we want to do more stuff with Hector.
Yeah. So it kind of all worked out, and here we are 3-4 years later, 5 years later. Good
I
Lord.
come from the world of fine art with a emphasis on Baroque painting styles. I have a master's in painting, and that somehow ended up here. While I was in college getting my master's degree in painting, I started really getting into video production and ran a production company out in Kansas City for a while. and then moved out to LA to start up Aren't We Clever, and we did commercials, we did short films, we did pilots, and that's kind of how we got involved with the Twitch stuff too. We did a pilot that Felicia Day was executive producing, and started talking to her about Twitch through there, and now we're here. Weird.
Well, speaking of the world of fine art, I also came from that, except for I focused on sculpture, like really weird esoteric stuff that people like don't understand. And then I was like, well, screw that. I also really love art and technology. So instead of doing more of that for graduate school, I pursued a master's degree in interactive media and entertainment and games. And so after that, while I was going through school, I worked as a marketing director, which still informs a lot of my social media decisions today. I was a marketing director for a chocolate company, so I know how to sell to people things they don't need, which is very important here at HyperRPG.
Wait.
Yes, now you understand me more. And then, as I was going through school for my master's degree and then finally working in the industry, I did a lot of interaction design, stuff for cars, stuff for Intel, and also mobile games, video games, tabletop games, all sorts of stuff. Love designing things. And unlike a lot of you guys worked in a lot of like one-man band kind of situation. I've worked on a lot of teams that are kind of small to enormous. And so I think I learned a lot from how to facilitate communication and teamwork, team building, a team culture, which I am kind of revisiting very heavily as CEO.
I think that covers it.
Hot dog.
Yeah.
Here's a question I don't think I've ever asked you. How exactly did you even figure out what Twitch was?
Lucas and I, strangely, if you want to know who started all of this, Iffy Wadiway.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't surprise me.
Iffy knew what Twitch was.
Yeah.
And Iffy invited me first over to Greg Grunberg's old studio.
Was Greg Grunberg the brainchild of our current channel? If you think about it, the guy that died in that Star Wars movie.
Spoilers. So he invited me over there. I had never heard of Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
But as a big nerd, I just immediately started being like, oh, this is cool. And then I just started asking a ton of questions. What do you mean it's live? What do you mean that there's, an active audience? And then Lucas and I just kind of started working there. And then before you knew it, it kind of felt like we started kind of indirectly taking over.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think Lucas and I ever fully jived with that audience. So we were always looking for like a way to grow it in an interesting standpoint. And we started doing Aren't We Clever a little bit on the side to test out some of these things. But we really took everything we learned and pitched it to Geek and Sundry and LDN. And that's where Geek and Sundry's live network came from, was the stuff we had learned from doing stuff with Greg Grunberg over Socialtron Live and our own channel, and just kind of seeing what we could do there. But I think for me, the most interesting aspect of it all that has always got me the most excited was open API and live audience feedback.
Mm-hmm.
I had done Kickstarters for shows. I had worked on commercials and all this stuff, and I want to be a storyteller. That's where I got from painting to then filmmaking, was just telling stories. And this idea that you could be telling a story and have an audience give you feedback and feel the flow of what they're moving with in the moment was really exciting to me, and still is the most exciting aspect of what we do, to feel that chat room and its flow and base your decisions and how you move forward on that group thinking. I find really fascinating.
I think that's what really separates YouTube from Twitch, is like they're two very different. Like the way you interact with the content is very, very different.
Oh, definitely. We don't even think of them as the same. Yeah, the content's totally different. And when I first got hired at Geek and Sundry, and then brought Lucas in, like it was to be a YouTube showrunner. I was supposed, because I had done a ton of work for 17, Awesomeness, all the stuff directing and cinematographer for a lot of their unscripted content.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of beauty videos. I did a lot of fashion, beauty, makeup tutorials, a lot of things where you thought it was a YouTuber at home by themselves, but there's a crew of 20 people on the other side shooting
in some
this
rented
branded
house.
content. Yeah.
We worked on that. We worked on the charity stream that kicked off the channel.
Yeah.
And you brought me in like a few months earlier, and I was sort of producing it with a couple other friends.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever we kicked it off, I remember it was a 72 hour.
48 hours.
It was like 2 or 3 days of just nonstop content, and I don't think we slept. and we were just like, the whole time we were putting on this charity stream, we had people that were working in this large building coming in and be like, what's going on? Because there are so many people that are watching this, and we didn't expect it. And it, like, as we were producing this show, this 48-hour show, and thousands of people are watching, like, I think everyone started to realize this is going to be a thing that we have to take care of, and we have to make daily content.
And they have to hire Lucas.
Yeah. And they got to hire that guy
Settled.
full time.
Yeah, we kind of forced their hand on that, but
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can say. I'm always like, what is under NDA technically and what's not from back then.
It
But
depends on how
I never
much you
signed
care.
anything. So if you need any dirt,
Spill it, Lucas.
honestly, I don't know if I ever signed an NDA.
I never
either.
signed a single paper.
They didn't have me under
So
contract
Wild
when
West,
I was
probably.
when I left. Yeah, they were really worried because they were like, "Oh no, he could go tell everyone." So they tried to get me to be like, "We're gonna do this a certain way" when I quit, and then immediately they kind of turned their back on that. I was like, "Man, if I was a bad person, I could really, really just dive into all this dirt." But I don't want to live that way. I don't
Yeah.
want to like be a person that just releases dirt on the internet. But
Yeah.
our starting budget for running all of that network was like a 6-month runway of only like $50K. So we had to put out a full slot of shows, build a set, pay crew. It was like $50K. I was like, this is going to run out in a month. But we made that thing profitable within like 2 months.
Yeah, we
Started
just
turning
I mean
profit.
the first day we were like, we passed 1,000 subscribers, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Things were different back
really
then.
blew up.
Yeah.
Things were very different
That
back
kind of
then.
content had not been seen yet, and now there's a lot of it.
And and things work a lot differently on Twitch now. It's like just a different culture on the platform. So we don't really focus on that kind of content anymore.
I would say that's also probably the biggest misconception about making content out here in LA is, and I don't assume I should never like expect anyone to understand this, but it is so expensive
Yes.
to do what we do here.
Yeah,
And
And,
yeah,
and in some ways, rightfully so,
Yeah.
to protect people.
For sure.
In other ways, silly. You
Yeah.
know, like it stifles innovation at times. But luckily for us, Twitch is the Wild West. Live media production for an internet format is still the Wild West. Even now, after 5 years of Lucas and I doing this, the unions don't know how to they just don't know what to do with it.
yeah. I mean, YouTube too. Like the stuff we make for YouTube is just ever changing.
Yeah.
And like we're just constantly having to adapt to whatever that is. And I'm sure you'll talk about that more.
Oh
And
yeah,
with
and
your topic.
and it's a bubble that's constantly bursting.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, like even just today,
College
we-
humor.
We got
just
news.
laid off 100
Yeah.
people.
yeah.
Yep.
And and a lot of the media companies that Lucas and I have worked for, partnered with, they're no more.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of theories on why that stuff happens, and that should be a topic for another day.
Because this
Yeah.
is year 5.
Yes.
For
Right.
us, year 5.
I mean, as the now bookkeeper of the HyperRPG, we're very careful about our books. Like, very careful. Oh, that social media software charges $15 a month. Can we afford that?
Excuse me,
then-
are these K-Cups name brand? Who ordered these?
Yep.
Who
We
ordered
have an
branded
Amazon
coffee?
deal where we can get boxes of them for $8. It's 15 cents per cup.
Well, that's the thing. Again, going back to sort of like not having any idea of like because we have people coming through here every day, and there's sometimes like upwards of 10 to 12 people a day. You have to consider all those little things.
Oh, yeah.
Cups, coffee, snacks,
Toilet paper.
just everything.
We're a
everything.
studio, and there's certain things
Parking is
Parking.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's certain things by law that we have to provide. I mean, one thing that I really am proud of Malika and myself and running this company, we are by the book.
Yeah.
And I will say this, since I didn't have an NDA with Legendary, more by the book than LDN was. We are more
We're very
legally-
legitimate as a business in terms of compliance.
Yes,
Yeah.
we communicate with our lawyers a lot. We are communicating with ADP a lot of the new laws that are coming out, and we want to do this as officially as humanly possible to fall within the right line of ethics. We want to be an ethical company as much as we possibly can. And I don't think people realize how much of the entertainment industry, especially for YouTube and Twitch and things like that, isn't.
Yeah.
They just try to skirt by, but that's really dangerous because you'll eventually get in trouble and you'll just disappear, or you'll have a lawsuit or something else. But you might get lucky. You might be able to get away with it. But we try really, really hard, and I don't think people realize how expensive that is. Doing it 100% by the book, I mean, I think a lot of people probably assume that a majority of our money goes towards,
Our
talent
pockets.
and pocket. And, like we are not a profitable company, and a lot of startups aren't. It's usually going to those services. It's going to legal. It's going to insurance. It's going to taxes.
Insurance is huge.
We pay a lot in insurance.
All types of insurance.
yeah,
Renters
workers' comp.
insurance. Workers' compensations insurance.
They want us to pay workers' comp for people who only
Health insurance.
Yeah, they want us to pay workers' comp for people who are only here 3 hours a week as a private contractor. That stuff adds up.
Because there's a fight between the people who are selling you the insurance and have the power to audit you, and what's considered compliance according to the law. And so it's not always like
Right.
black and white. And
Nope.
I'm always like negotiating and trying to do the right thing as a person.
Yeah.
As a person who
And
lives.
how do we keep the company
Yeah,
alive?
in California, a lot of these laws happen for the right reasons. I'm not angry about covering people.
And to be fair, those private contractors legally don't have to be covered by our workers' comp, but our insurance company, to keep them from being liable for certain things, like they want it covered. So there's that constant fight and that push-pull that we'll just randomly get like a $6,000 bill as a small company, and we'll be like,
Huh?
what, how, why?
And then that'll eat up 3 days of my time trying
Yeah.
to get to the bottom of it.
Did you
know?
think we were going to talk about all this stuff, Adam?
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think it's super interesting and insightful because I think for the regular audience, as consumers, we sometimes just watch stuff and we don't.
yeah.
We tend to not always think about the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, for us, it might be a little bit different because we know what it takes to make a video of a certain type or put on a production of a certain size.
Right, and when you see, as viewers of content, when you see people like Collider, College Humor, and all these companies, Screen Junkies going through different hands, falling, changing strategies, all these kind of stuff,
Yeah.
I think it is very hard to understand as a consumer when you just expect content to be there to understand why these decisions happen and what kind of hard choices have to be made all the time just to stay above water. The tiniest law change can cost you thousands of dollars. That's an employee. That could be a whole show.
Yeah, I think it's important for creators to know too, because I mean, we have people that we've worked with, or you see it happen all the time of people that, like, especially like people that we've worked with, we'll come in contact with them. I think maybe they think like, well, I could do it better, or I could try it my way. I don't like the way they did that, so they'll try their own thing, and like those things can just die out, and the flame just goes out so quickly if you don't know what you're doing. Not that I know that anyone that has
someone
done
will
that, but
not understand that they'll think that I can do it myself, which in a lot of ways certain
power
things
to you.
are easier to do yourself because you can just do it as yourself.
Yeah.
We have to do it as a business.
But we should make it clear how hard it is to have like 30 people coming through your door and getting paid every week.
Yes.
That's like
Yes.
that's something that if you want to try, you really need to know what you're getting into.
And we pay everybody here, something I'm extremely proud about, and I process that payroll once every 2 weeks. I have a little plug. If those of you who are a content creator or curious about the legal and the money side of things, I was on a talk with our attorney, our CPA, and a financial planner, and some other influencers who are Twitch streamers at TwitchCon. You can find that talk on our LinkedIn.
Oh yeah, we'll link it.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll link it down in the
Yeah.
description.
There's a lot of really helpful info in that panel.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, probably people have assumed that we're just like four friends making content together, which
I don't
Which
like
we
these people
are.
at
Which,
all.
like, yeah, I was forced to sit next to Lucas, so it's fine. But it's like that's one part of it. Then the operations and the running. I mean, you inherited this position
Hi.
of CEO.
Yes.
How challenging was that? And how much did Zach screw it up?
Zach did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
But one person can't do everything. Zach is an incredibly creative person, and I say this, not as his spouse and as somebody who loves him. I mean, I love him, but
Gross.
I think between Zach and Lucas, they have a really strong, like, untrainable, intrinsic kind of feeling and pulse on what works as live content. Like, you can't go to school for that. Like, you just have to do it, and
We've
you have to do it.
We've put in our 10,000
yeah,
hours.
like
Yeah.
hours and hours, days and days, years and years now. And when Zach is getting bogged down with like legal or bookkeeping or spreadsheets, which isn't something that you enjoyed doing, nor was it a personal strength or something that you were trying to grow doing, I was like, this is a waste of his talents and time. Whereas I focused also on creative, but I had an experience as a marketing director, doing financials. My mom was a bookkeeper and worked for a bank. My sister studied accounting, so I was like, I can do this to help you and help the team so that we can make more innovative stuff. And I know sometimes we say, like, I don't know if Kolak could have happened.
No. If I was still the
like,
CEO,
yeah.
Kolak wouldn't happen. And I think this was a decision, making Malika the CEO was a decision we came to together. And a lot of it was like, yes, I'm not good at this. There are things I'm good at. There's things of understanding how certain things go. And I thought I was going to have a lot more help in certain areas I was not good at. But I didn't. And I had to pick it up as I went. And I negotiated some huge contracts. The Power Rangers stuff was completely months of me locking myself in an office and negotiating contracts and being way out of my depth.
Yeah.
But figuring it out and going through it. And we didn't have legal representation back then. And that was a mistake on my end. That's my fault. We'd be in a much better place as a company if I knew how to properly protect us back then. But I was just like, I got to figure it out. And that wasn't my specialty. And I know that there were entire months of our company where I would just disappear into the office. And I was not involved.
I lived with you and I didn't see you sometimes.
I would not be involved with any content. I wouldn't be putting out the stuff that I know we should be putting out. I would just be like trapped in an office. And I know Malika's having to go through a lot of that now, but I'm still there to kind of help through
and
things.
I was there to help during that time too.
But I think for the future of the company, there's a lot of reasons we decided it was best for Malika to be CEO. It does unfortunately pull her away from creative, and she's also extremely creative. But diversity and representation at Hyper is extremely important. And, we have always tried to hire that way, which might be a little confusing right now when you're seeing here's 3 white guys and Malika.
Hi.
But a lot of that's because we feel very proud that a lot of people of color and women who've worked for our company have left to do bigger and better things. They didn't get fired. They grew up and they moved on, and that's great. But we were looking at a position, it's like, here's the future of our company. We're not putting our money where our mouth is. And it's really important to me as this company grows and moves forward that someone who can speak to those experiences and has proper knowledge of living like that, which is Malika, not me, is put in the position to represent the company. Because as long as I was the head of the company, a lot of us just saying how we want to put those voices forward could come off just like talk. And I think it's really important that we put our money where our mouth is and put Malika in charge and say no. And Malika naturally is going to be thinking about those things more because you live it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll just be thinking about problems, and we'll be thinking about creative. Naturally, we're ignorant to some of these things, and Malika will like smack us and be, no, we have to do this. And we can have the best intentions and still be ignorant to not being able to do, just like getting bogged down with things that we don't live every day. So it's important to have someone who lives it to be able to speak to it, represent it, and put action towards it.
And then I've also had to learn a lot about speaking on these topics because I don't represent every non-white person.
Yeah.
I don't represent every range of disability, LGBTQIA. I only know my own kind of experiences, so I've also had to reach out to my own mentors, other people of color in the entertainment industry, to seek guidance on how to speak on these kinds of things and how to advocate properly.
And that's happened a lot in the last year.
Yes,
You've
a lot.
been on panels. You've been able to represent Hyper in really unique ways that I could never do.
And more people have reached out because
we want to be there, and
CEO.
it's just the way things are. If I'm the CEO and I'm the face and I'm the one trying to make these decisions, there are going to be people of color within the industry who are going to be like, he doesn't understand. And I can want to, but it doesn't change their perception. And the minute we put Malika in place and she starts making decisions, some of those people felt comfortable enough to come forward, and we've had great working relationships. And when I say those things, I don't want anyone to misconstrue that as a negative thing. That's just the way things are. Just like no matter what, I will be ignorant to certain things. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be. And I want us to be a better company.
Well, and also not to throw any shade on anyone, but I think a lot of the people we've worked with have expressed, they've had some very uncomfortable situations with the people that they've worked for.
Yeah.
And they would like someone more comfortable in those positions
Right.
to be around.
And we can
that's just a thing in Hollywood that we're all trying to make better.
Yeah, and I would say right then and there, I don't want to act like that what we're doing is the best now either. We can do better.
Yeah.
We can do better. I mean, we want to hire more people. We want to have a more diverse crew, but we're broke and we're out of money. So we have to overcome certain hurdles to then get to the next ones, you know. But yeah, that's. I feel like we've gone real deep into
That's
this.
us, Adam. Now what? All right, that's us.
We just went real deep into this.
Tell us what to talk about next.
Looking at the big picture for the new year, so like I think we did a lot of amazing stuff last year, especially
yeah.
at the tail end of the year with stuff like PostCoast,
Oh, yeah.
which I thought was so fun and so different from
That was
anything that we've done
so
before.
cool.
The final episode of PostCoast is my favorite thing we did as a channel all
Yeah.
of last year. And I don't know if that was the heavy medication I was on or if it really...
I don't know, man. I was operating camera crying. I literally shed tears. Kyle, one of the performers, we could hear him wailing outside. He was outside, not on camera, crying his eyes out. It's a very emotional, funny, good time.
Yeah, and that to me is the power of this kind of content where it's just like everything came together at just the right moment. And this story that you all had been building with the audience interaction and everything else and all the hard work and the medication all just came together at once. And it was like,
can we
wow, this is
clarify?
special.
High as a kite.
To clarify, I just gotten out of the hospital. I went
Yeah.
directly from the
These are-
hospital to the studio.
These are
And
not-
the pills that I love taking were really
I
working.
love experiencing pain in my life.
I just got in a spinal tap, and
Yeah.
that was
It was a rough 3 weeks.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
you being sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
It was brutal.
it was interesting. All of us had a technical job to
Yeah.
do in the moment. I
Yeah.
was hiding underneath the table, like so anxious, waiting for my
You know what?
cue.
I actually feel like that would be a really cool thing to do right now. Why don't we break down that final episode of PostCoast and what everyone was doing?
Oh my God.
Because every one of us had a job.
Yeah.
Too many things. I'll go first. I helped Ricky, our PA, and also Ghost.
My
and I was a
roommate.
ghost. Yeah. Rig up some of those special effect floaty things with clear fishing line. Also, I was in charge of sitting underneath the table to move the magnet, the little Ouija board. And then I also helped do some of the makeup and communicate with some of the cast members, like the narrative objectives.
Yeah.
And while like also reading the Twitch chat, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So I came from the hospital back to the studio, grabbed some equipment, then went to the house where we filmed from, which people live in that house. So that creates an extra level of, okay, we can't be there all day. You can't
Yeah.
set up the night before. We have a live show at 7 p.m. Or 6 p.m. So we had to get it all ready after like 12 p.m., 6 hours, go. So I grabbed the equipment we needed, came back. I had set up the new Blackmagic ATTN Mini in one of the rooms, an extra camera for interviews, green screen, set up keying, and then set up the wireless communication for the camera that Lucas was operating, made sure batteries were good, did any little last-minute lighting or camera technical changes that needed to happen, and just made sure all of the tech was solid. So Lucas had less to stress about and he could focus on his job. So I was mainly there for support and also making sure I was doing the live switching on location, but then my signal was going through a live view unit with bonded cell tower data to Adam, who I'm on the phone with.
We're all on the phone.
We're all
Yeah,
on the
we're
phone
all on the phone.
together.
The whole team's on the
Yeah.
phone together, and then I'm here in the house by myself, doing all the live switching, whether it was from Lucas's camera while he's walking around the location doing interviews and actually doing the story elements, to then working with Zach to coordinate his cutting into the interviews, music. We had a live polling system that was happening during the show, making sure that that was on screen when it needed to be, sharing the results of those polls, controlling the music. It was... I won't say it wasn't complicated in the sense that like there was so much tech involved. It was just a lot of different things to
There's a lot.
focus on.
Yeah.
And a
Yes.
lot of it was like a dance. It was
It's
timing.
not even the most complicated show we've done, but
No.
it was the most communication needed.
Yeah. Hyper communicated. Also, Zach, because I did this for the first 2 episodes, the tip incentives as well. So you would trigger those things like the lights flashing, or you
Yeah,
would tell
right.
people like, okay, it's time to make the bananas float.
Yeah. So we're all on a phone call, a group call, communicating with each other, and And we also, because we're outputting from that location to Adam over RTMP, we pay for at our house a dedicated static IP. We pay for an RTMP server, and we use it for a lot of things. But in this instance, it's great because we have kind of a locked location that I'm sending signal out to before it goes to Twitch that Adam is ingesting, and then we have to do some testing before the show even starts to get the lag down just
sync.
right.
Yeah.
So
9-minute or 9-second delay.
it was a 9-second delay.
Yeah.
So
So-
while we're on the phone, he's counting us down. All right, 9, 8. So it's like that moment. Basically, when he says go on our end at the house, even though we're on the phone, we start going. But on Adam's screen, it's still the video.
My 9 seconds is your go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that can be really nerve-wracking
Yeah.
when you're doing this kind of content.
Especially when I'd watch and the pre-recorded stuff that a lot of the stuff that you guys shot, I would have to make sure, okay, at 19 seconds, give them a 10-second warning because at 9 seconds they gotta go.
And that's not going to work that way for everything we do with this
Sure.
tech. It was the way we did it for that show.
Yeah.
And it puts you in a really messed up position as the board operator because you have a split second of decision to figure out whenever you said go and that video's ending.
I'm just sitting there
you're
praying,
watching
"Oh,
the
God,
preview
please, please,
screen
please."
and you're like, they got the message. They got the message. They started. They got the message. They got the message. And you have a split
Yeah.
second to make a hard choice of
Yeah.
like cut back to their feed or cut to something else to hold.
And
Yeah.
thankfully, it worked out every time. Like, I think we had a perfect cut almost every single time we did it.
On that
Yep.
final episode,
Yep. Yeah.
we were in sync.
yeah.
Yeah, and luckily the delay didn't lag any longer.
Right.
You know,
And it could've.
That was always a concern of mine. But I was operating the camera, and then I also sort of played a role. So while Brandon and I were workshopping this, originally we were just like, it's going to be a behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And then we were like, well, it needs someone to guide it. So it was like, Brandon, you're going to have to be like the producer of this show. And then it was like, okay, there's going to be times where I'm going to need to communicate with you to be like, we need to reshoot that
Right.
because we're like rolling. So it's like, what if I just play the camera operator while I'm the camera operator? So lots of times I'm like playing a character where I'm being like, I need to reshoot that, or I'm saying like action and cut. So I can actually sort of direct the actors.
And you had a whiteboard where you would.
Brandon was writing
yeah.
on a whiteboard, like as people are voting on these decisions that are happening in the chat room, we tried to like smoothly communicate those to the actors without anyone knowing, so it feels more like the actors are making the decision, not like the chat's voting
Oh yeah,
on it.
for us it was really important when you're doing a live interactive show like this. We can use different tools, but this was the most effective. We're on a phone call. Because there's a 9-second delay, Adam's going to see the results of what the chat room voted for 9 seconds before they have to react. So he can say this one, and in that 9 seconds Brandon can write it down on a whiteboard, hold it up behind the camera, and they react. And in the moment, it looks like this one, immediate reaction. It
Yeah.
syncs up so well in the moment
Yeah.
to where as a viewer, as an audience member participating, you feel like
feel
you
like it's
get
just instant.
immediate
Yeah.
reaction
Yeah.
based on your choice.
So then my other job was just blocking basically and what to show and when to show it, because all of these moving parts are happening around me. So we can like hide a bunch of stuff by being like, here's the action
Yeah.
set up behind me
Yep.
while I'm not pointed that way.
Yep.
And a good example of that is in the last episode. There's like an effect where he's talking to his ghost dead sister via Ouija board, and I have a close up on him. And while I have a close up on him, she's moving in so that now whenever I swing back, it's like she's just appeared there. She puts a hand on his, and it's super cute. And then I get another close up of him, and she moves out. So it's like now she's faded away whenever I swing back over here.
And then also like my signal under the table was somebody supposed to kick me.
Yeah.
So that I would know to move the
God.
Ouija board.
The amount of things we did in this that were so not the official. It was just like in the moment, like, how do we do this? How do we do this? I don't know, just kick her. Give
Oh
her-
my God.
But all of that blocking we did 2 hours before the show. We did a rehearsal of like a full run through right up until it was time to go. And I was like, okay, fuck, I guess we hope it'll work.
And even then, it's a live show. So you know when you do those rehearsals, it's not going to work that way.
Yep.
And one
All
of the-
kinds of issues
so
throughout.
many things will come up, and
Yeah.
you have to be able to adapt quickly and effectively without the audience knowing.
Yep.
And that's kind of the name of the game with us when it comes to live content.
Yep.
Is like keeping it entertaining for the audience, even when behind the scenes things are on fire.
And you were also on a pretty tight deadline because it was a week-to-week show, but you also had to like pre-record assets that
We
had
were-
to like be played during.
Yeah, we were making those cinematic cutscenes, and I would shoot those like Sunday night and edit them Monday night to be ready for Tuesday's show.
Yeah.
And there was like the last week I just ran out of time, so we only had one. pre-recorded scare, and then we just really focused on the story on the last episode, and it was good.
Yeah, it worked really, really well.
I'm glad we
people seem
just
to like it.
broke that down for everybody. One of these days we'll dive into an episode of Kolok and all the technique that goes into that.
We got to figure out a way to get people to watch that PostCoast episode.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be showing them clips throughout all this.
I mean,
right?
I will.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I mean, now we've been showing off our Twitch VODs,
Yeah.
so you can see the chat room interaction.
Yeah.
Which is the coolest way to see it.
yeah, for sure. That was super, super fun. But like, what would you guys say are big picture goals for this year?
More of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
for
all want to
sure.
do more of that. I mean, I have my own goals with Kolok as the kind of lead on that show. And we have big stuff coming up here really soon for that show. But, I want to do an episode out in the desert. I want to do the episode inside of a set that we build that has every actor trapped in their own little, room that's like a reflective red walls room that they're trapped in, that I can control the lighting of the panels and all this stuff. I have a lot of stuff that I want to do for that. But it's usually just pushing how far we can go with live interactive storytelling and have the audience excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's a few things. Right now, trending on social media is, instead of having a New Year's resolution, it's just a word. And so my word that I picked for myself and the company is go. It's in our brand name, Hyper Rabbit Power Go. And for people who have survived anxiety, like myself, I think anxiety can paralyze you. And there are things that we want to do, or we kind of held back on because don't have enough money, time, whatever, or a partner, we're waiting for the right partner. And I'm like, you know what? Screw it. We're rolling 2 natural 20s. Let's just go and do it. And then my second thing is, I really love the Journey Onward kind of campaign we started last year. And I think we're all very adventuresome people. We're very open-minded, and we're down to, try different games, stories, adventures, books, food, people, that kind of thing. But in terms of the travel stuff, we didn't do as much travel as the year before.
No, we did a lot more travel in 2018.
Yeah.
We went to Prague.
We went to Thailand.
I want to experiment with a better way of capturing travel that furthers this narrative that we're trying to tell all you guys, which is, dude, it's a big, beautiful world out there. Just go.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard, though, because our team's smaller.
Yes.
And now
Our team
you're the
is-
CEO.
yes.
So in the past, we had the same size team that's at this table, but Malika wasn't CEO.
Yeah.
So if her and I went on a trip and I'm running camera and she's on camera, you're just missing me, and then you still had a full team back at the house. Now, if we try to go do something, it's like, well, there goes half our crew, and we still have to produce content. So it is a challenge now, just by our team getting smaller.
Yeah. I'd like to I like the direction we've always gone, the interactive media, where I think we take a lot of audience suggestions, sometimes just straight up whatever the audience wants, and we incorporate it into our stories. I like this route of the mixing of the two, of coming up with the narrative ourselves and trusting ourselves as storytellers and letting the audience choose something that we've already created.
Yeah.
Of these routes are great, and we've really workshopped them and thought of them in our heads, and we're great writers. Which one do you want to see? And I really like that about PostCoast. And then on top of that,
that's literally how Kolok works.
Yeah.
You guys don't see
Exactly.
the polls every week as players.
Yeah.
Every week, the audience picks from 4 options in that poll about where the show's going to go.
Yeah.
I'm picking those options
Yeah.
based on where are the best places for the story to go.
Mm-hmm.
And the players don't get to know about that, but the audience is picking, hey, here's what I think the show should be next.
Yeah. And on top of that, I want to do more of this stuff.
Yeah.
Just talking about stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hanging out
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
You never know. Sometimes we might do one of these episodes and we might workshop an idea live on camera and realize, we should probably film this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of the same for me. I think I've been so used to doing sort of the same stuff for the last 6 years because we really got into a rhythm. But when the platform evolves, you have to evolve as a creator, and you have to challenge yourself and do new things. And I want to focus a lot more on story and doing interactive story stuff and choose your own adventure stuff and travel. All that stuff is so fun and so interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I think you have to sort of, at some point, you need to be able to take, you need to go on the next step.
Yeah.
If you're just constantly doing the same sort of rinse and repeat, and a lot of it is also just changing what you're already doing and being open to change and just changing the formula up a little bit.
Yeah.
And that might not even be on the same platform.
No.
I think you're going to see, even by some of the things we want to talk about, platforms come and go.
Yeah.
As creators, we still have stories to tell, and it might not be on YouTube. It might not be on Twitch. It might be on some other platform that works best with the kind of things we're trying
There's
to do.
stuff popping up all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're going to talk about a few of them probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do that now?
Yeah, let's do that now.
Want to talk about stuff?
Yeah, let's talk about
Shit.
stuff. Is there anything that is coming up or that we're working on at Hyper that we want to talk about or let the audience know where they can find that stuff?
So many special guests on
know.
Twitch this month.
I
Oh
know.
my goodness gracious.
We have a couple we can't announce, but we can
Yeah.
announce Matt Mercer is coming on to an episode of Kolok. Hector's going to be on that episode. Strawberry's coming back as the now FBI agent. We have an episode that's all FBI for the first half that I'm working on, and that's going to be soon. And and D&DW is getting close to the end of its run, and we have a couple more special guests in line for that show. And we're just going to keep trying to make really cool stuff like that. So I think keep an eye on it. And I know a lot of people that watch this on YouTube don't cross over to our Twitch, whereas a lot of people who watch on Twitch watch everything we do on YouTube.
Yeah.
And give it a shot. I think as storytellers, we push really hard on that platform to tell really cool and unique stories. And you might dig it. It's really fun. And there's something about watching that live chat room explode when things happen that's really exciting. It makes it really fun.
Yeah.
And finding another community member that had the same reaction as you did when you were watching something together, that group viewing experience is really alive and well on Twitch.
I'm working on a few more things like PostCoast currently. Can't really talk completely about them, I guess. But stay tuned.
Why not?
I mean, I could talk about the one.
I
We have
mean,
one that we're
'cause
trying to
even if
do
it-
in February, but
Even if it doesn't get sponsored, we're still going to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
just
like that's a budget question I can't answer.
Yeah.
So we are working on for the month of February, hopefully a rom-com, a like live dating simulator, and it would be scripted. It's not like actually these two people are going to go on a date and fall in love like The Bachelor. It's like a scripted thing,
like PostCoast.
Oh, I'm
where we
thinking The
convey a cool.
Bachelor is scripted.
Well, right.
Lucas, have you ever watched that show?
No, it's totally.
Is that real?
It's definitely reality, right? But yeah, that's what Brandon Winfrey and I are working on right now, and hopefully we will have that up in
And
February.
we want to do, for this one, unlike PostCoast, where it's just one POV, we want to make it look a little bit more like a rom-com. If they're
very
sitting at
well
a table,
shot.
you've got two cameras that are doing, close-up shots that we're cutting between live and in the moment on location, not in a studio. It still has that energy of live, that anything can happen, but it has the production value of in a studio.
Yeah.
And we say all this now confidently.
We'll see what breaks on episode 1.
But that's the fun part.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
only learn by doing.
Yep.
That's all you can do.
Oh, we're going to do it. I'm excited.
Yeah, very excited. Let's talk about, so we each brought a topic to talk about that in some way relates to things that we're passionate about, or maybe some potential things in the future that we would love to incorporate into our pipeline, or things just generally that we want to speak on that we think are very relevant to the stuff that we do here. And Malika,
Yes.
you're up first.
Oh my goodness. Things are. Did I prepare the wrong thing?
No, I think this is very relevant.
I wish we had more plants on set. There, that's what I'm passionate about. All right. Well, this is a hard one for me to talk about, and I know we've all felt this way, or I can only speak for myself. Are we too old for this job?
Fuck yes.
Yo, I'm 27. Y'all, maybe you.
Every time I go into the table to plug something, I'm like, I'm getting too old for this
Oh my
shit.
God.
I'm like
I am
Roger Murtaugh.
I am so tired. Every time I say it now, like anytime somebody asks me like, how you feeling or blah, 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 and I respond with, I'm tired. I get on the verge of tears. The second
Oh,
it starts
no.
to leave my mouth, I'm like, I'm tired, man. I'm so tired. But that's beside the point. From an audience standpoint, I feel ancient, especially for Kolok when we have this very young high school audience that's attached onto the show. I feel like the old man of the show, and I am.
Yeah, I mean, our primary demographic, I would say, between both platforms, Twitch and YouTube, is 18 to 34.
And that's
And
why
like, we're like on the verge of exiting out of that.
I don't think
I am.
I don't think we are too old. I think that these people are aging with us, and
Sure.
they're gonna want want
Yeah.
older content as they get older.
Absolutely.
I don't know what half of them are fucking talking about, dude. They tag me on this shit on Instagram.
Okay, maybe not the Kolok audience. We might be aging out from
Zach's
that.
never opened TikTok.
No!
Why are there so many Instagram posts of that I'm tagged in with a red X on my face. What does that mean? Is someone gonna kill me?
They do this stuff. They tag me in these things. I look at them like, I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I have to go to Shovel and Mika and be like, hey,
Help.
what is this?
But that's the thing. Those consumers are gonna, in the next few years, they're gonna reach adulthood. They're gonna be
Yes.
looking for content
Yes.
that maybe we are making right now. I don't know.
Maybe.
And then they'll be like, man, this guy is gray and old, and why would I listen to him?
Because
I got one more year, and I'm totally gray.
you already established a relationship with it. I don't think we're too old.
Okay,
I
well,
don't think
what's
we're
your
too old.
point?
All
here.
right. The reason why I bring this up is there was a fantastic New York Times article about something called the Hype House, and it's not us. They are in Los Angeles.
They forgot an R. They forgot an R.
Oh, that's
Damn.
my house.
It's a mansion in Los Angeles, not too far away from here, and it talks about the gold rush of influencers, young influencers, some as young as 15 years old, moving to Los Angeles because they all have become TikTok stars within the last few months.
Yeah.
Which
Okay.
is, I have a lot of feelings about
I have a lot of
this. Yes.
questions. How do you make money on TikTok? There's no ads
Right now,
or
you
anything,
don't.
right? Yeah. So
Well-
are they TikTok stars by getting endorsements?
Yes,
Or,
sponsored.
I have
Merch too,
I
probably.
have a lot of references for
Yeah.
my point. On the Hollywood Reporter, they estimated that some of these top TikTokers get $30K per sponsored post.
Huh.
Think about that.
Look at him. Look at him. He's going to quit in 3 weeks.
I think
30,000.
I mean, Instagram's been doing that for a long
Sure.
time.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and then they said, if you could get a major celebrity like a Will Smith, they may get up to 6 figures for one sponsored post
Yeah,
on
yeah.
TikTok.
Sure.
Think about that. Will Smith doing a lip sync rap
Yeah,
music.
but
Anything.
this isn't new. Every new platform
Yes.
Instagram had that, and then it died down. Twitter used to have that,
There's
and then
been
it died down.
plenty of
Vine.
millionaires
Vine
on
had
every
it.
platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
So-
all like to live together in their frat house.
I mean, that's
In the
what we
hills.
do here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's what we do
Yeah,
here.
but we don't make money.
Except for, it's not a mansion.
It's not a mansion, and we don't make money.
It's definitely overpriced.
You
And
know?
I'm definitely driving around trying to find.
We have $500 to play a board game, not $30K
Yes.
to promote something on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we still feel an enormous pressure that, oh shoot, we're too old.
Yeah.
We're not getting that much money per sponsored video or post. And, a panel that you were on, something closer to our world,
A D&D panel,
a D&D social media, I think, or marketing rep said, hey, you need to get on these D&D TikTok memes if you want to be a content creator in that space. And then all of us were like, oh, shit! Or at least I had that moment in
She
the
did.
audience.
My moment on stage was, I'm not getting that.
And then also, we're able to survive. We're in year 5 now of
Yeah.
our startup, which is a small miracle. I'm so proud of where we've come, and I'm so grateful for everybody who supported us. But the pressure to compete with younger people with millions of followers is enormous.
Okay. These are influencers, though.
Yes.
We're not influencers.
Yes.
We've
Yeah.
never pretended to be influencers. We're producers.
Yeah.
There is a difference. We work with influencers.
Sure.
We hire influencers. People who have that their hand on the pulse. That's not what we do, and I don't know if we want to. Honestly, if you ask me, do you want to be an influencer? Well, you know the answer to
No.
that. I don't make social
No.
media posts. I don't want to do it. You gotta.
You say the word Instagram, and Zach curls up into a ball.
It's not me.
How many people are living in this hype house?
I think upwards
4 people
Yeah.
full time.
Okay.
And then I think up to 19 kids
Yeah.
go there part time. There's a 15-year-old influencer and her sister. They live in Connecticut, and then they crash at the hype house to make content. And then they go back home to go back to school.
I will bet all of you right now
that I'll be living there in 2 weeks.
that half of those people
Yeah.
won't be relevant when they're 30.
Sure.
I think some of them will capitalize on it because
Yeah.
they're smart business people.
Yeah.
I think some of them will
And-
get burnt out, or they will, I don't know, get
This
the
happens
fame
in
of
every
kids.
industry.
Yeah, it always happens.
I mean, we saw that with Vine, YouTube. You and I have worked when Vine was around, and you and I were doing stuff at Grunberg. We worked with so many Vine stars.
and half of
Two
them.
of them went on to do pretty big stuff, and I
yeah.
won't name them, but
Yeah.
there's others that disappeared completely, and the same happened with YouTube. When I
Yeah.
used to do all the videos for 17 and Awesomeness, it was known, and you could tell. You would meet certain people, and you'd start working with me like, this kid's going places. They know how to manage their money. They know how to manage the expectations of their content, and they've created a plan.
I mean, you can just tell when some, I don't know, when some douchebag shows up and acts like a douchebag to everyone. It's like, I don't know how long this is going to last.
Right.
Yeah, but some of those Vine stars that we
some
met
of them
that were
have
huge
made it.
douchebags are now some of the biggest people in the
Exactly.
world.
But now some of them are some of the biggest douchebags in the world, and everyone thinks that.
Yeah.
But
So
they're still rich. They're still
I
doing
guess.
fine.
Yeah, I
They'll be
guess.
set for life.
I don't know.
well, there was 3 takeaways I wanted to talk about. You know, yes, this has happened before. Influencer houses are not new. There was a
Right.
whole apartment complex on Vine Street in Los Angeles where all the Vine stars were getting into apartments together.
Yep.
Vine
right?
Street.
Yep.
I get it.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Whoa, that's gonna blow their
Whoa.
brains. They're gonna like this.
Where's
Have
the
you
Twitch
have you
stream?
actually not heard of this building?
No.
Because
Yeah.
it like changed the rental market in that area.
Yeah.
Very cool. I hate everything.
It's above the Trader.
10% of me just
It's
died.
above the Trader Joe's down on.
Oh,
in-
really?
In
Oh.
Hollywood. Yep, that building.
So, okay. So I think there's 3 things. One, what can we learn from this? Because I think, in all seriousness,
Stay
there
away
is a
from
lot
that
of
house.
there's a lot of smart stuff here.
Yeah.
2, how can we learn from their mistakes? They've
Yeah.
done things right.
Yeah.
They've done things wrong. And then the third thing is, I'm just worried.
Yeah.
I'm worried for myself. I'm worried for the world. I'm worried for young people.
Sure.
I'm worried for old people.
Okay, that's a loaded statement. Why?
Worried or
yeah,
I was
like,
gonna go
what-
down the list. All right.
Why are you worried for young people in this? Because like we're saying, this has been going on with every new platform that pops up.
Well, okay, so I guess I'll go backwards for you, Zach. The reason why I'm worried is
Zackwards.
there is an enormous there. If you look at the veterans of the industry, like our friend Strawberry 17, who's been there from the beginning, has been doing this for a decade. Enormous health and mental health pressures and
Yes.
concerns. When I hear somebody who's 15 years old, that's a lot to take on.
And
That is
that's
a lot.
that's what I'm
Yes.
talking about. A lot of these people burn out
Yeah.
mentally. A lot of them go through some serious
By
mental
18, they're like,
trauma. Yeah.
Many Twitch streamers, because of the pressure to continue to create content, they start abusing drugs. It's very sad. It's
Yeah.
very dark.
Yes.
We have some content creator friends who, they have their first kid or they just get married and they're like, holy moly, what do I fucking do now?
Yeah.
So I'm extremely worried. But at the same time, the boomers, right, in quotes, they think that this is all very vapid and these kids are really stupid. And at the same time, a lot of these kids are extremely hardworking,
And
extremely
very smart.
very
super smart. And knowing what people want
Yes.
is
Yeah.
such a
Knowing,
talent that
yes.
can carry over into so many
Yeah,
jobs.
marketing especially.
And if we could learn one thing from TikTok, I think it is one of the more newer emerging platforms where you have a direct connection to the audience. And I know this kind of overlaps with your topic later, Adam. YouTube has become less and less of a community place. And now I'm seeing more direct connection on Twitch, on TikTok, and in private Facebook groups. Those are my 3 areas to watch in terms of community building, talking directly to your consumer, follower, that kind of thing. So yeah, I am extremely worried for myself, young people, and then also there's an article that went out late last year that more kids want to be a YouTuber than an astronaut. So my eyes really opened when I went to MindCon, Mind Fair, which is a Minecraft convention. And I don't know what I expected, but what I didn't expect and was kind of appalled to find was the new wave of parents making their kids into like talent
Yes.
in kind of disturbing ways, like beauty pageant kids is wanting their kid to be a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And now, unlike China, but in the UK and the United States, more kids want to be a YouTuber than an astronaut. So that's why I'm
That
worried.
doesn't surprise me though, because
But doesn't
when
mean,
people
like-
wanted to be an astronaut, it was because that was what was on the news, that was what was in the media, that was what you aspired to be.
Also, like, being a YouTuber sounds fun. It's like, let's play games and make money off of it,
Yeah, and it's what you surround yourself
Mm-hmm.
with. These kids are watching YouTube, so it seems viable to them.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me, and I think that will shift. A new platform will come out, a new form of entertainment will come out.
Yeah.
It will change, it will adapt. That will always happen, and people who are creepy with their kids will always be creepy with their kids and sign their kids up to do weird things. I think that's
Yeah.
That's not new. Like
Yeah.
putting your kids into entertainment at a young age, it's just becoming more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And the
does-
internet has made it feel like, ooh, I can
Anyone
do it.
can do it.
I can do it.
Yeah.
It like really sucks though for the kid, I think, because I think there's so much of like we put so much validity into like likes and
Yeah,
views and
right.
comments and upvotes and all that shit, thumbs up versus thumbs down. And whenever your kid is like working really hard and putting
Right.
out these videos that are getting 7 views, they know like to them they are not valid. Like
Right.
they're not making it.
But that's wrong.
Yeah,
That's so messed
That's
up.
what I'm saying. I think there's a worry there of like there's going to be so many kids that are like there's not enough. Like there's too much content. Like there's
also-
some people are just not going to make it.
And there's too
Right.
much pressure on looking for validity onto online platforms, which
Yeah.
is not like a really. Yeah, there's much smarter people than us that are like trying to tackle these issues and like
Yeah.
what it does to you psychologically. And you see it happen all the time in our industry too, because we work a lot with people who are online personalities, and they have to, for a job, think about
Yeah.
how many likes they're getting,
Yeah.
how much interaction they're getting from each tweet, and it's sad.
That's kind of what excited me when Instagram announced that it was going to get rid of likes
Yeah. Or stop
Yes.
showing them.
and stop showing them.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought like, okay, maybe that will encourage people to feel less pressured, even though they can see behind the scenes like how a post is actually doing.
Yeah.
Maybe because other people won't see it, there
Take
won't be
some
so much
pressure off.
judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knows?
And I don't know. I know that that had rolled out in Canada first, I think. I haven't had it. I don't think any of us
No.
have that ability yet, but it was
No.
supposed to be like a pretty big worldwide rollout. And I don't know if they're still sort of like getting to us, but
Yeah.
I'm interested to see if things like that, those sort of like shifting things will maybe encourage people to worry less about that and worry
Yeah.
more about like, what am I actually doing on the platform?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be like, if anyone who is a content creator that's listening to this, which is possible,
I think it's very likely.
we
Yeah.
made a choice. Lucas and I came from a world of views. We came from a world of how many hits is this getting, how many eyeballs is this on, and we made a conscious decision at HyperRPG to not care about quantity but quality.
Yeah.
We
There are
care-
other ways to get paid on the platform.
Yeah.
And that's
Exactly.
what we explore.
Yeah,
Right.
we don't. We are making a successful business that's going into year 5, where people have health insurance and a salary and all these things, and some of our shows get at max an average of 250 live content viewers, and most people would think that that's a failure. Most people would look at that and say like, oh, these guys don't get any views, but we look at it far differently, not focusing on the kind of like a view is a view. It's who's the view, how engaged is that view, how involved is that view, how much of a part of a community is that view.
Are they passively viewing or interacting?
Exactly,
Yeah.
because an interactive viewer is more valuable than a passive viewer. So, I've worked in the commercial world. We worked in the YouTube world where it was like you had to make it viral. You had to get this many hits. And it sucked.
Yeah.
Because it hardly ever then became about the content and the story. It was like following every knee-jerk trend to a point of just like reducing the content down. And not everyone does this. Some people are way above it and they make the trends, and I respect those people so much. But when you're chasing them, when you're chasing the likes, it really started to get to us. And I like the way we do Hyper, where we focus on what's important and we still have money to keep a roof over our heads and not have to be like, oh, only 200 people tuned into this thing.
But at the same time, there's always balance. We're starting a Witcher RPG for a reason right now, right? Like,
Yeah, but I have no, you say that, I'm very honest with what I expect our content
Sure.
to do. I expect 220 people tonight. That's my expectation.
I don't have any expectations.
I don't like.
Sure.
It's like this idea that we're jumping on Witcher because it's a current thing. Our community's excited about it. That's why I think.
I mean,
go
I
for it.
personally just want to hear the song more. So
So I think we're going for it because the community's excited about it. But this idea that we could get a lot more views and we're chasing the views, no, it's not going to lead to more views. It's on
Yeah.
Twitch and people can't search for it. There's no algorithm to support it. It will not get more views.
And
Yeah.
then my 2 other points that I wanted to talk about were what can we learn from what they did right, what can we learn from what they've done wrong. And I think what they've done right is the reason why the influencer house kind of exists is because it speeds up content creation. Number one, speed is still very important. We have internal discussions all the time about quality versus quantity. We have to put out stuff, a lot of stuff, and fast, right? I mean, Twitch is a platform that rewards hours live. Twitch has told me that in meetings. So, breaking down those barriers to all live in a house, like they're on the right track.
Yeah.
Another thing that I thought was actually really clever is they have whiteboards all over the house for ideas. Instead of putting money into furniture, because that gets in the way of shooting, they put money into things like cameras and whiteboards. And, we have internal spreadsheet documents of things to work on. And sometimes I think because they live somewhere hidden in Google Drive.
I won't use them.
Yeah, you don't use them. We had to transition away from using Asana and digital task tracking to whiteboards. And so I'm like, maybe we should buy some more. Maybe we will have a successful show.
I mean, considering how often we have to erase, like photograph and erase a whiteboard and then like redo it and then use the other side and then erase is like, maybe more.
And a lot of that's my fault. It's just my work ethic is like go, 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 go. And the second I'm done, I have to be done because I usually just pass out.
Yeah.
But it's this idea that when I sit down, I'm going to have time to go into a spreadsheet and look around and catch up on those things. Usually the second I sit down, it's like, oh, what are all the? I gotta. Oh, shit! I gotta open this program. And I gotta open this program. And I gotta move this thing over here.
And the last two game studios I worked at, if I'm gonna learn something, they did that too. So when I worked at 2-Bit Circus, in our offices, all walls were whiteboards. All walls were whiteboards. At Hairbrain Schemes, all tables were whiteboards. So I think just some more like physical representations. I don't know. Maybe we should do a group vision board or something. That might actually really help us stay focused on the topic, right? And then in terms of what have they done wrong, or not necessarily because this is so early, but you're right. We need to have an exit strategy. You need to have a strategy that is bigger than the platform that you're on.
Yes, yeah, you got to expand outside of that platform.
Absolutely,
and they
then,
probably already have.
Well, yeah, and but also like they do a lot of things right, but also like TikTok, there's rumors that it might get sold.
Yeah.
There's a lot of problematic, scary things on that platform.
Yeah.
Like the U.S. government is now investigating TikTok as a national security threat. So we'll see what that ends
Should
up.
investigate themselves.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's owned by the Chinese government, isn't it?
It's a Chinese company,
Yeah, it's a Chinese
and
company.
I think it's like their government.
the
Well, if it's a Chinese company,
government,
it's the Chinese government.
Yeah.
owns kind of
Right.
everybody.
Yeah.
Their thoughts, how many children you can have.
Got to get that social media or your
Yes.
social score up.
Yeah. So
Real life Black Mirror.
and then of course, I mean, there's other things too. Did you know you can't stay in the Hype House if you're not making videos? Like they have a quota.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
they're
that's good.
very strict on themselves.
Yeah.
It's also not a party house. I just think it's very, very interesting. And they recognize, like you were saying, what people want and kind of connecting directly to their community. And I can see how carefully curated their TikToks and their Instagrams are in terms of like, I'm attractive, but not sexy. You know what I mean? And they're so careful because they're smart enough to try to avoid controversy, which is very smart.
Yeah.
Considering that they're between the ages of like 15 to like 19,
15, 20, yeah.
20, that's pretty impressive. 'Cause
Yeah,
usually
it's
you would think
extremely
like
impressive.
a Hype House like that, it would be the exact opposite. Be a party house.
There has been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
I mean, there has been.
Yeah,
That's
of
the thing.
course.
They're a good example, which is probably why there's a New York Times article about
Yeah.
them. The amount of these things that have popped up that were
So
awful.
many.
Is,
And then the other point though of what they've done wrong though is it's very white. And their debut post about the Hype House, they
Yeah.
were all wearing white T-shirts too, and I'm like,
Oh,
oh
that's
boy.
weird.
And so there's already other groups of influencers like the Melanin Mansion. That's kind of like, okay, I see we're not welcome. We're gonna make our own influencer mansion.
Yeah.
So all the luck to them too.
I mean, I think the biggest thing to take away, at least for me, when I look at things like TikTok, and I have an account on TikTok.
I do
I have
too.
not been actively posting, but
Nope.
I've been consuming a lot of stuff. And I think the biggest mistake that I made when I first looked at TikTok was because it was the evolved form of Musical.ly. I thought, okay, I guess in order for me to get any traction on this platform, I need to make content where
Right.
I'm like singing and dancing or doing impressions.
Oh,
and,
you
and
did
all
some
that sort of
dances,
stuff.
buddy?
No.
Oh, okay.
100% not.
I was about to check it out.
No. So I assumed like, okay, if that's what I need to do in order to be seen or to sort of get any sort of following on this platform, then it's not really for me. Then this is
Yeah.
really for people who are younger and have that sort of
Right.
like energy and drive.
Right.
But then now you look at TikTok and now it has over I think it's 1.5 billion
Yep.
downloads. A lot of the influencers that I follow on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, they're taking their content repurposing it for TikTok, and it's getting just as much drive and engagement.
Yeah.
You know, like Gary Vaynerchuk, or I was just showing Lucas a TikToker, or he's a YouTuber. He started as a YouTuber. He also has a pretty successful Instagram, not a big Twitter following, but he's blowing up on TikTok. Flaky Salt. He does cooking videos. So I think
there's additional things that really work on that platform, and quick recipes. It's like, oh my gosh,
60-second recipes, which and because of the UI and the way it's designed and the things that you can add to it, that's what separates it, I think, from something like Instagram, where like you can add music to it and some filters. But now, because of the success of TikTok, Instagram is now starting to implement a lot of stuff that has been on Snapchat, is now being incorporated into TikTok. So like I think the biggest thing to take away is like you really got to find what's your thing, what do you like to do, and how can you apply that to a platform without just following the trend of what everybody else is doing.
Yeah.
I guess final takeaway, this is like a fun activity. One of the people at the Hype House said, you either have to be talented at something, or a weird, funny mix, or extremely good looking. If you have all three, you're a TikTok god.
All
And so
I guess I'll get on TikTok then.
have you placed yourself into one of those categories? I feel like I have, and like the brand has, you know, where it's like, okay, not handsome enough, not talented enough, maybe we're weird enough.
Yeah.
I'm pretty weird. I was going to talk today about the announcement at CES of the new app, I guess, maybe coming to phones, called Quibi, which is coming from Meg Whitman, who serves on the board of Procter & Gamble and
That's so
Dropbox.
interesting. I used to work with an actress named Meg Whitman, and now I have to make sure that it's not the same
It
person.
can't be the same one.
I think you're
this
thinking
is
of May Whitman.
Nope.
This is a person on
never
the
mind.
board of directors of Procter & Gamble. This is a billionaire woman. And Jeffrey Katzenberg, former chairman of Disney, who also, I found out, more important credit is executive producer on Shrek 5 has been announced. So go Jeffrey.
I worked on the first 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Quibi is a mobile-only video service launching April 6th. So Quibi has already been talked about a little bit, but they, I think, announced like the launch date, and they showed a little bit of the features today. It's going to have original programming, typically in the range of 10 minutes or
I
less
heard
per
about
episode.
this.
We talked about this on a Hyper Heroes
we did.
episode.
Yeah.
There will be a range of formats from news-driven segments known as Daily Essentials to episodic, unscripted, and documentary programming to cinematic stories told in chapter installments. So just kind of everything. I don't know if you guys heard the news about that Zac Efron show of like, I don't even remember what it's called, but it's something like How to Kill or Killing Zac Efron.
Yeah, where he was
and
in
he
the
got he got flown to the hospital because he almost died filming that show.
my God.
That will be on Quibi. There will be an ad-enabled.
Marketing stunt. No.
Yeah, probably. There will
No,
be
he
an
almost died.
ad-enabled version for $5 a month and an ad-free version for $8 a month. So this is a subscription service. Over the last year, Quibi executives have been assembling a robust pipeline of programming for its launch. It plans to offer more than 3 hours of original content each day, which would be about 175 shows in its first year alone. Projects include Catherine Hardwicke-directed future-set drama Don't Look Deeper, Ty Sheridan's thriller Wireless, Antoine Fuqua-produced drama #Free Ray Sean, horror anthology 50 States of Fright, and a Lorne Michaels-produced comedy Mapleworth Murders. Also, Evan Funk food shows like Shape of Pasta and a lot of other things.
They're going all out.
They're really going all out.
I mean, when you're Jeffrey Katzenberg, you got the money.
Yes. Most notable that they showed off today was this, and today being January 8th, Wednesday, January 8th is today for us. The notable feature that they showed off today was this feature called Turnstile. So it's basically... I wasn't really understanding this until I read more, but it allows the video to instantly flip between vertical portrait framing and horizontal landscape framing as the phone moves. I was like, my phone already does that. That's just what phones do. But apparently, and here's where they were explaining it. Ty Sheridan's Wireless is a survival thriller about a young man whose car has crashed. It shows Sheridan's character in horizontal orientation, but as you flip to vertical orientation, it reveals the interface of the character's phone, who he is calling and texting, and that kind of thing. Of like, you know, if you're watching him like this, you see a movie. But if you flip
go up, you see his phone screen?
Extra info.
Shit.
And I'm like, okay, that's a little more than gimmicky. That's
Yeah.
actually kind of cool. You can sign up to the company's website to be a Quibi insider today. But I have a ton of questions, concerns, and also things that I'm like kind of excited about. Namely, I think short, more digestible content is great. I don't think we're losing, like, movies are just as long as they've always been. They're still going even longer. We're not losing, our hour-long TV shows. I don't think that's a concern. So I'm totally fine with people experimenting with, like, 10-minute episodes and short films and such. I see, I think a lot of boomers would complain about it. Everything's getting so short. And everyone's got no.
They're not going to
Why'd you look at me when you said that?
But like they're not going to sign up for this.
And they're not going to sign up. That is
Concern being, do you want to pay $5 a month?
8, you said?
$5 a month for ad enabled, 8 for no ads.
Whoa.
No.
For just short content? Who's going to sign up for this?
No, I'm guessing by month 3 that will be free.
Yeah. And here's a thing that I wanted to talk about with all of this is I think they're going about this wrong. And I think this is a bunch of old Silicon Valley, Hollywood people that don't understand the industry. They're trying to make stuff for kids, but then they're bringing in all these like actors.
Yeah.
Of like what kid, kids are watching digestible stuff and like young people.
Yeah.
But who gives a shit about these actors that I've
They're
never
not going
heard
to
of?
change their viewing habits. The kids are going to keep watching TikTok and YouTube.
Exactly. If you were able to bring those TikTok and YouTube stars over, though, I think you could bring their audiences.
They will.
Yeah.
I think eventually.
How much you want to bet that they will, but that doesn't make as cool of a press release.
Yeah.
And
These press releases are for the investors.
Yeah.
They're for the people
for the
with
old
money.
people, they're like, "Oh, I recognize that actor." But also, $5. Who's going to pay $5 for this? Would you?
No.
I would, if there's a free trial,
Yeah,
I'll try that.
I'll try it out. I'm excited to see what they
Oof,
make.
It's going to be
but
tough.
it's-
I really am going to have like a free trial 2-week period where I can run through the whole app.
Yeah.
To see if it's worth my
And like,
my
I guess
money.
what bugs me is it's also $5 for ads. Like, just
Yeah. Why couldn't it just be $5 across the board ad
make
free?
make it free. Or
I don't think that'll last. I
I
think that'll change.
Yeah.
As a former mobile developer, I'm not a schmuck and I don't pay for anything on my phone.
Yeah.
And that's how most people feel.
Yeah.
And developers
I
who
don't
have,
want to enter my credit card info on my phone. Like, I just don't like
well, I
doing
mean, I
that.
got the Apple Pay, but
Oh, I do
Yeah.
that shit all the time.
I'm
I
not
don't
going to
care.
fingerprint over my money. But to my point, I have game developer friends who have made premium, beautiful indie games. They could be app of the year on the
Yeah.
Apple Store.
Yeah.
And then somebody makes the free version, and people want to pay those $2. And in the long run, that developer that only wanted $2 for their award-winning game
Yeah.
loses money.
Yeah.
Nah, it's
get
the
that.
fact that it's a phone app. It's not a desktop app. It's a phone app.
Yeah.
$5 a month won't happen.
Yeah.
That's going to change. I would put money on it that if they want that to survive after a couple months, it's going to go free, and you'll pay to do it without ads.
Yeah.
They'll just push more ads at you to try to cover up the costs. But at the end of the day, they're going to have to move it to free. Or you're gonna launch that thing with so little fanfare, especially if I do believe they can't be that dumb to not put young impressionable people in front of it.
Yeah.
But even then, young impressionable people are going to be like, my audience won't pay for
Well,
this.
because you say names
Yeah,
like Ty
$5.
Sheridan, and to us, it's like, oh,
Cool,
guy who
yeah.
did Hell or High Water, great. Who wrote Sicario, great. But to a 19-year-old kid, like
fucking
that doesn't
care.
mean anything to them.
Yeah. I think the exciting thing is I do like that, like flipping the phone thing, because what I see there is like, especially with documentary and news style stuff, one of my favorite things about Amazon Video is when you pause and it shows, here's all the actors in this scene and like who scored this scene and stuff like that. I see that being like, that's a cool feature if I turn it this way to just see who's in this scene. That could be really cool. Otherwise, even in that example, the wireless example, that's kind of a gimmick to me. Like, okay, I'm just going to watch this twice.
Yeah.
If they could figure out some way for me to interact with it in a, I would just watch it full the way through horizontal, and then I would flip it and watch it again.
I also wonder, like, when they film that sort of a thing, like, are you filming it? This might be a hard thing to explain, but are you filming it basically with the sense of like, if I'm watching it widescreen and I turn it, is it going to reveal more of the image and
Right.
have more data, or is it going to be like black bars on the top and bottom?
I think what
and then
he's
just,
saying,
like,
because they used an example that said you're going to see the phone screen when you
yeah.
launch it.
So it's like switching to some other thing.
Most likely, I imagine that if you're not doing something that's taking advantage of that, it's probably what you're talking about, where it'll just be extra information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be like, thank you for watching, blah, blah, click here, whatever,
Right.
and then you turn it back and it's the video.
Yep.
If they don't
Ad
utilize
space,
it, because I doubt
probably.
every single show will utilize it
Right.
properly, but some will.
Yeah.
I think they're announcing this for advertisers to be like, when we turn it vertical, you can have your ad space
You can have a
above and below
banner.
video.
Yeah.
And you can click and interact with it. And that's not like YouTube, right? But it is. And that's pretty much it. I don't think this will work. And I think they're putting $1 billion into this for an idea that will have a lot of hype around announcement. And I think people will try it and be like, unless they can get like some good original series that people really, really like and have a lot of hype around it, I don't think it'll work.
You know what I love though about this? They're going to be giving somebody money to make shows on it.
I always
Yep.
feel
Love
that
that.
way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I support all of these shows that are going to be on. I'm like, that's so cool, and I hope they do well.
Yeah. It's going to be very, very interesting. We'll see. One of the only things I'm really excited for, granted, I also haven't done like a major deep dive, is the Rousseau brothers are doing this like 8-part, 5 to 10 minute docuseries about Marvel versus DC, but like the companies and like throughout their history and all that sort of stuff. If you maybe could like lean into that audience a little bit and then bring in people like a Tom Holland or someone to like help narrate that, then like maybe like you can use those sort of schemes to get people on board. But yeah, I don't know the longevity of this. I think it's we'll see. It'll be very interesting.
We'll see.
Will COPPA kill our channel? That's the question of the year. So really quick sort of like background and context. COPPA is not something new. COPPA's been around since 1999. It's the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And YouTube is a platform that technically, since the beginning, it's mostly been like a PG-13 type of website. So when to sign up, you got to be 13 or older. You have to get consent from your parent if you're younger than that. So naturally, a lot of people signed up for it, or kids signed up for it through their parents.
Then YouTube realized, man, we could be making a lot of money off
kids.
kids.
Long story short, they started boasting about the fact that their viewership is so heavily skewed towards 13 and under, and that got the FTC asking questions of like, well, if your platform is primarily geared towards audiences 13 and up, and you're using analytics from their accounts, viewing history, location, and all that sort of stuff to sort of like target ads towards them, well, then that then goes against COPPA and the rules that we've established for you as a platform. So they did some digging, and now Google, who obviously owns YouTube, has had to pay a $170 million fine.
Yeah.
And
I heard that is 1% of YouTube's profits.
yeah, it's crazy. I know,
really hurting.
I know. TikTok has also had to deal with some of with the FTC in terms of COPPA, and I think Facebook at one point did as well. But now the big question has been coming from a lot of creators, and I think this was like announced in September, that starting January 1st, so like a week or two ago, every single video that you upload to your channel has to be identified whether or not it's appropriate for children. The problem with it is there's a lot of gray area. For example, we do a weekly show where we talk about superheroes and movies and TV. It's not necessarily intended for children, but because, not all the time, but because a lot of the time we don't use adult language, yes, it could be accessible for someone who is under the age of 13. And it could be an algorithm, it could be some automated system. If I flag it as, no, it's not intended for children, they could say, well, actually, we watched this or we analyzed this video. We think it's okay for kids by miscategorizing it. Thank you. You can be fined up to $42,000 per video.
Bye-bye, HyperRPG. Bye-bye.
We would be done in an instant.
Yeah.
So that's become sort of the big talk on YouTube from a lot of content creators is how are we going to separate this gray area?
Has anyone been hit yet?
That I don't know.
So the people who are most like hit or concerned are like the toy channels and the family channels.
Or the Minecraft players.
Yes.
Because a lot of people play
Fortnite,
Minecraft and Fortnite. I mean, the whole reason Minecraft and Fortnite got so popular is the algorithm supported it because YouTube's algorithm was supporting like for kids.
Yes.
Yep.
They just kept, more and more creators started doing kid-centered content.
And they're saying that creators could be hit with revenue losses as big as 80 to 90% for a lot of content creators, which if you're solely relying on YouTube revenue, then like you probably should have implemented some other third-party things. But if you don't have that option and all you have is your YouTube views and all your revenue is coming straight from YouTube, like that will immediately kill your business. So I'm really curious to see how this is going to work. And I know a lot of those like kid-centric channels, they built a separate platform that was intended to be for kids, literally called YouTube Kids.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming that just not enough kids were probably on that platform, and they would just stick to YouTube main because they had access to everything on the platform, which obviously also opened it up to a lot of predators and all that sort of stuff as well. But there are a lot of people concerned going into this new year that they're not really sure what they have to do to differentiate themselves from being kid-oriented, but still talk about the things that they want to talk about.
I watched this series from a lawyer about this, and I'm trying to find it right now. It definitely wasn't that one, but he had a lot of interesting points that YouTube's using some really dishonest language in all of this, and they're basically trying to
hard.
protect themselves and make it like so that people believe that they might be in trouble for this, but the blame lies on YouTube. They are the ones that are selling the children's information, and they're the ones that are targeting children with advertisements. So they may be able to like wrap you up in legal battles, which could kill your channel, but ultimately they're supposed to be the ones paying the fines for this. And the guy who worked for the FTC, who said that the people, like the channel creators, the creators would pay it, is wrong. He's like, that's just not right. And it will, like, if this issue comes up, someone will take it to court, and this will change.
And that makes more sense to me, because that's why Twitch has a very different policy than YouTube. It sucks for creators, believe me.
It will kill a creator.
Twitch, to wash their hands of this situation, has set up a deal where if there's a single copyright infringement strike assumed towards your channel, you get taken offline. And we know this because it happened to us. And it had nothing to do with us. It had to do with an indie game that we played on our channel. The creator of the indie game was in a lawsuit with the person who made the music for the indie game, and the person that made the music for the indie game just went on a rampage and started making claims against channels that played the game. So out of the blue, 2.5 years after this had been on our channel just disappeared. Because Twitch bears the responsibility more than we do.
They're protecting themselves.
And to protect themselves from a lawsuit or getting in any sort of trouble, they just wipe the channel.
And that's what YouTube can do, is they do have, like, they're a private company. They have the ability to be like, well, you're just not a creator on our platform anymore. So if you're making content that is controversial in that way, they can just be like, well, we're going to pull the plug on your channel. They have that right. Which is scary for creators, I think. But the fine coming from the FTC should go to YouTube, and eventually, if it is going to the creator, there's going to be a legal battle that will resolve that, which is very shitty still. I'm not saying it's good for anybody.
No, it seems like YouTube and like Twitch and all these other platforms, they're trying to protect themselves because it's a liability for them to even allow this content to exist in general. And
scary.
And people don't understand. I mean, it's happened to us, but that's why Twitch is trying to protect themselves. Twitch will just ban people quickly when someone reports it, and then everyone gets upset and yells at Twitch. And it's like, I get it, and Twitch does need a better system, but they're trying to basically be like, it's easier for us to make mistakes and accidentally remove people than to get a giant lawsuit for something being on our platform that shouldn't be. You know?
Yeah, and I think for a lot of these channels, it's already become stressful enough that demonetization and the adpocalypse has struck YouTube multiple times over and over and over again, and we've seen it too. And you're constantly having to play the game of the algorithm and trying to maximize views and all that sort of stuff.
We make 1/3 of revenue on YouTube now than we did 2 years ago. 1/3, and we've tripled the sub number.
At least.
At least.
And we're not a big YouTube channel, so just imagine if you're a giant YouTuber, and you're making 2/3 less revenue.
You got to get those $30,000 sponsored posts on TikTok.
No, for real. And I mean, I think
15-second
that's what a lot of people have been leaning towards is okay, we got to get a lot more sponsored stuff, but not every company has millions of dollars that they can just throw at a bunch of YouTubers at the same time because of adpocalypse.
And not every very good content creator can secure those kind of deals.
Yeah, exactly.
There are so many mid-range channels on YouTube that are killing it and making awesome content that make the platform so great, but they can't secure those deals.
No. And I honestly believe the reason we've been able to work with so many amazing YouTubers is they're looking for options. They're in a position now where they need to find new ways to do content. And we give them an opportunity to come experiment and they have fun, but we couldn't have done that years ago because they would have been like, I'm making great money. And I feel like people are nervous. So
I always tell people, don't be married to a single platform. You need to diversify. You need to try the amount of effort you put into one, you need to put into all, because if one fails, you still have somewhere else that you can potentially go. And when they all fail, well, then we all have to start looking for new jobs. Okay. So we should probably do these rapid fire.
Yes.
Rapid fire.
We have questions.
60-second answer or less.
That's easy.
Okay. Yes.
We have questions from the patrons. If you want to submit a question for the show, patreon.com/hyperrpg. The first question comes from Calvin Hunt in the Hyper Homies tier. Thank you so much for your support. What new tech would you like to implement this year if you get the chance?
Robots.
Oh, AI. Shit.
Skynet.
They could do our jobs.
I know. God, no. If time and money were no object, is there anyone from the creative industry you would like to interview or have on as a guest?
Jordan Peele. I prepared answers.
Terry Crews.
I say Terry Crews still. I still want him on really bad.
Kumail. He's jacked
Kumail
now.
Nanjiani?
Yeah.
He's jacked.
Swole
Wait, you
Nanjiani?
didn't want him before he was jacked?
Well,
He's
I mean, I
jacked now.
still would have, but now he's, I don't know, he's a hunk. Let's get that hunk on here.
Damn it. It's supposed to be 60 seconds or less. Gary Vaynerchuk. I want to see what his insight is. I want to know what he thinks about other platforms.
Oh,
'cause he's
I've met him.
I know. He's been so
Okay.
YouTube and Instagram heavy. I want to know what are your thoughts on TikTok and Twitch in particular? Because he started Twitch and then he kind of abandoned it, and I want to know why. What are some of your own and Hyper's big and small goals for the year? We already talked about that.
Yeah.
Next question comes from Andrew Gray, who is also in the Hyper Homies tier. Thank you so much. Are you guys planning on doing more collaborations with people who aren't typically seen on Twitch? An example would be like having Brandon Cutler on for more D&D stuff, not necessarily wrestling related. Thanks for all the cool stuff you guys do, and keep talking up X-Men comics.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
answer to that is yeah.
Yes.
We are always looking for people to work with us who are not accustomed to Twitch and come from outside in the media world. It's just hard to get a hold of them because they work a lot differently.
Yeah. Running Unchained from the Gritos. Hello there. Is there a crew of Hyper RPG? Is the crew of Hyper RPG excited to attend any conventions this year? If so, will there be any IRL live
So
streams?
Gen Con has already made an internal bid for us to continue doing what we did for them last year, this year. So that's
So Gen Con,
high
IRL.
likelihood. Yeah. And then if you're going to TwitchCon EU, let us know because I want to go to Amsterdam.
I'm sure we will at least be present at
And
Or
president.
president at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah.
We'll have a presence.
We'll be
but
there.
I
We
doubt
know
we'll-
what we'll do.
Yeah,
Stream. We can easily just go down for the weekend.
And
Look,
then,
if anything, we'll go down and get California burritos with you guys.
Yeah.
And there's some LA cons, Paramorphicon,
Yeah.
E3, Anime Expo.
I don't know if I'm going to go to any of those.
Zach will stay home and watch movies.
Dude, I mean, this year we only went to a couple cons, and I liked it way better. The year
Yeah.
before, we tried to go to so many, and it tanked.
It's tiring.
It was
It's
tough,
exhausting.
and it nearly tanked us. We minimized, focused on what was really good for us, and it seemed to work
I
better.
want to go to CCXP and party with all the people in Brazil. Final question comes from Jamaica Raquel Hayes. Thank you so much. Also from the Gritos on Patreon. For Hyper RPG, there are 4 main peeps running the main operations, but 3 paid, correct?
Yep.
Do you have plans to add more paid stuff in the future? If so, what can we as the audience do more to help assist you with that?
Well,
Paid
we
staff, I should say.
have
Take that
a production assistant, part-time intern type person.
Oh, we do have a part-time.
His name's Wes Marshall.
Yes.
He's really cool, and I
He's
would
very
like
active on all of our social.
Follow him on TikTok.
and I would like to have more people like that because I also see it as kind of a mentorship, and
For
we
sure.
have so much knowledge to impart on people.
Yeah.
I'm not paid.
Facts.
You are correct. There's
I
4
am.
people on the team. Only 3 are on the payroll. As an owner,
We just split the income.
yeah, I mean, yeah. But as an owner, I kind of took for the good of the company, I took a backseat to say, let's make the company grow this way. But we would love to hire more people in the future, and you could.
We'd love to
sign
hire
up-
Zach officially.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to not try to take all my wife's money whenever I just want to get a haircut.
Or eat a bagel.
Or eat a bagel or anything like that.
Ways to help us reach those goals of like paying more people and getting help, like assistance around here. I think just, obviously you're already doing this, Jamaica, as a patron, but, supporting us on Patreon and Twitch and subscribing on Twitch, like literal, like monetary support obviously helps, and that's like
Subscribers
the
on
most direct
Twitch
way.
help way more than people realize. We make on
recurring
average
payment.
right now $5K less per month on our subscribers than we did a year and a half ago
Yeah.
on Twitch, and we don't like.
That's
You get a
that's
free
whole
one with your
person.
Twitch with your
Yeah.
Amazon
Twitch
Prime account.
Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
You can just, it's free for you, but overall, but we don't push it that hard because we focus on the content more, and we've reduced our hours live to do better content, and sadly, the result of that has been less money. It's like we're making better shows, but because we're live less, we have less subscribers, and we're losing like $5K a month from that. So, subscribing on Twitch goes a long way. It seems like not much, but in the long term, that $5K a month it would have been my salary.
And not everybody can pay, so
Right.
it's like if a lot of you, like we work in a very niche space, and we make very niche content. If you have any friends that you think might be interested in this kind of thing, just spread the word. Let them know.
Do
that
you play board games or any sort of like role-playing stuff with your friends, or you just love storytelling or movies or TV?
Question for you. We had you on our first board game playthrough that just dropped on YouTube, the Batman game. Did you have fun?
Yeah, because I know the Batman universe pretty well.
But you had a good time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Even though I won?
Oh, yeah, it was
You
fun.
were on a, okay, like, let's talk about this for a little bit. I feel like I should have warned.
We got to wrap it up because we got to go live.
I
but
know,
first,
but I feel like I should have warned everyone at the table because I started seeing very early in that playthrough your tactics and the way you do things. I'm just like, these boys didn't know what was going to happen.
I mean,
Malika was playing all y'all.
I went in fully prepared to lose, and so I just took advantage of being able to do Mr. Freeze impressions the whole time.
You went as far as to manipulate Ross and Hector into moves. The one when you just straight up lied, where you told Hector, like, I can help, make the move, I can help. The second he moves, no, I'm not going to do that. I was like, we're fucking ruthless.
And that's our CEO, ladies and
everybody else is there to have a good time, and Malika's like,
I'm going to chew you all
win this.
I came from behind, guys. I had the lowest stats out of anybody.
No. You did not come from behind. You were in the lead from the first turn. Hector only won one roll in that whole freaking game. No, you were way ahead. You were fine. You were fine. I had to edit that thing over a course of 2 weeks and just watch you like sit here and do these things where you're like, should I use it? Manipulating the whole board.
This is the fun that Lucas and I get to experience every single day while we're here. You said you had a challenge for us.
Oh, I did, but after we talked about how shitty TikTok is, and how it might be the Chinese government's way to infiltrate all of us and get our face on facial recognition so we can all die. My challenge was going to be, let's see who can start a TikTok and have the most followers by next week.
I'm in.
Oh, shit. Even after the conversation we just had?
I told you. I called this. I told you.
The first thing Zach said was like, Malika's going to be in for it no matter what.
I think it'd be fun to, if the four of us started a TikTok with our own just individual styles and whatever brand we want to make. And
it's my dog.
Come back next week and then even next month.
Oh, it's your dog? You get to use the dog?
You can't use the dog. Okay, no kaiju's allowed. It'll be kaiju versus Huck.
Cheating.
All right.
We could come back and revisit this a year from now and see just what kind of styles.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Vibe.
I hate this.
Well, actually, I really love that idea. Kind of like, the beginning of Amelie, my favorite movie. Everybody has like their own bio, but it's in a different style, and they talk about their quirks. I thought all of us as kind of director, filmmaker people could do like about me, but in the style of like a director they love.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Interesting.
I don't want to do
Zach's
this.
like, I want to die inside.
I don't even want to open the fucking app.
We'll see.
You might
I
find
guess
something
we'll
entertaining in there.
I'm sure I will. And then it'll go to making something. I'm going to be like, I got to make all this shit for this channel. I don't want to sit here and think about this stuff. I got to go get the stream upstairs. We're going live at 4. I got to go do that.
You can put whatever you want on there,
Just
man.
put that on TikTok.
You can just put up some Twitch clips from our channel.
Just
if
put
you
up
want.
you just getting really just, fired up.
Did we miss this last question number 5?
Yes. So from Davlin in the Gritos, last question. Greetings, everyone. I always like to get to know people better. So I will pick one of these questions just so we can wrap up. What are your favorite YouTube channels to watch? For me, I love watching Peter McKinnon, Jesse Driftwood, Gary Vaynerchuk, Philly D, and a lot of other tech people on KBHD, Sarah Dici. Yeah.
Potato Jet.
Potato Jet's great.
That's my number one.
Yeah,
that's the
Potato
one
Jet's
that
great.
like I'm
That's a
subscribed
recent
to.
discovery in
It's
the last
Potato
like
Jet.
5-6 months.
And I don't watch crank gameplays, and I never will, but I will leave a comment on almost every video.
Poor Ethan.
I'm a big fan of Captain Disillusion. You should check out his stuff.
Yeah.
He makes really, really high concept special effect videos. And I, other than that, a lot of bullshit. A whole ton of bullshit. I've been really liking a lot of the people that are doing stuff with Sony A7 though.
Yes.
Nice.
Peter Schiffer and Daniel Lundgren, and Peter McKinnon as well.
Yeah.
I follow all the food people. Cooking with a Dog, Mangchi, Tastemade, Cooking with Jaoja, like all those people.
Yeah.
Especially if there's some kind of ethnic grandma that teach you how to make delicious food. That's a follow.
What's the Korean woman?
Mangchi.
Yeah, I'll go up to our bedroom sometimes, and Malika will have it on the TV, and it's like this woman who is doing almost
hot ring doll.
It's like ASMR.
It's
Yes.
like ASMR of
Yes.
cooking.
But cooking,
She
yeah.
uses a Sony too, and it's
Yeah,
just like
yeah. She has
lots of-
two.
Malika, please send me that link.
Yes.
And it's just like the most calming and peaceful stuff ever. It's so peaceful.
It makes me uncomfortable. It discomforts me, the sounds. I don't like certain sounds. Like water drips and shit. I hate that.
Yeah,
And like shh. Like I hate that shit.
my favorite new trend on YouTube to me is domestic ASMR. It's not people talking about weird stuff. It's people like quietly chopping on a wooden chopping board.
someone folding clothes. I'm like,
Marie Kondoing their shit.
she loves that stuff. I'll fall
It's
asleep
so
to it. It helps
relaxing.
put me to sleep, but
My
I
father
can't watch
yelling
it.
at me in the distance.
Who left this shit on the floor? Oh my God, we should
the
do
sounds of the domestics.
We should do a domestic ASMR channel where you think it's gonna be that.
Yeah.
It's all this shit in the background.
I'm telling you, this podcast is full of
Who the
fun
fuck
ideas.
left the back door open? You think this is a barn?
Hey, grab me another beer while you're out there.
Somebody go feed the dog and get a beer out of the fridge.
Who the fuck didn't take out the trash?
And you just
There's only one of you here besides me. I know it was you. You recording one of those dumb videos again? Get out here.
I feel like we should just start a TikTok for like the whole crew. That would be amazing.
Why's your door locked?
Oh, kick that shit down.
What are you filming in there?
This is an insight into Lucas and Zach's life. Clearly. Oh my God.
so you're getting to know Storm and Norman a little too well.
Oh man.
That's good stuff. I think it's time for us to wrap this out and get the
Yeah.
hell out of here and
Good
go do
fun.
other work. We need to go run a studio live.
Yeah.
4 o'clock every single day on Twitch. Jump over, check out what we're doing, and then obviously make sure you guys check out everything that we're doing here on YouTube as well. And link up with us. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the social media platforms. LinkedIn. TikTok coming soon. Let us know though, because like we love getting feedback from the audience, and that's one of the most important elements of everything that we do here is like we want to hear from you guys. Ideas for videos, ideas for shows, or ideas on if you find a piece of tech that you think would be beneficial to us that we could maybe implement in the future. Like we want to know all that stuff because I literally, as we were sitting here, I got 3 notifications for things that I want to talk about next week already.
Oh, nice.
Some stuff relating to AI that I'm like, I can't even believe I just read this headline. A lot of interesting stuff. If you guys are listening on the podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever this thing ends up being, make sure you guys give a like, comment on there as well. Refer it to your friends and tell them to come over. Come over, hang out with us every single week because we have a lot of fun doing this stuff. And we really appreciate you guys sitting through this 90 minutes of us just being us. And it was really fun. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we decided to pull the trigger and do this.
It's okay.
Go fuck yourself, Zach. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.